What's up, guys? Damian and Bruce here from WaterBear College of Music. We've got a new debate, and that debate is, with venues closing down and bands finding it harder to get people to come to their local gigs, is the local gig scene in your town and city dying off? I think we might actually start to disagree on this one.
Why would we disagree on this?
I don't know. Maybe
but what do you think? Is it dying off?
I think it's very difficult. I think there's two aspects to this.
Yeah.
If you look at the stats, for me, I always look at the stats.
Yeah.
And I think one thing why I get, people think what I say is controversial is because all I'm doing is I'm looking at the stats. I'm not looking at any kind of emotion or any kind of
I don't do that. I do the opposite. I go on gut feel.
Yeah.
Never look at stats.
So therefore, this is a point where if you look at the stats, because if you look at the stats, for example, 2016 was the most amount of attendance at gigs and festivals that has ever been in the history of this country.
Yeah.
With over, I think it was 12% up year on year.
Yeah.
But if you look at the likes of Ed Sheeran and Adele and Taylor Swift, they're getting all the people. When it comes to your local town and city, there's your main issue.
It's absolutely harder. And I'll give you an example of something that would never happen when I was a kid, 17, 18. We pulled, in Scarborough, we pulled 600, 700, 800 people in one gig. And the reason was there was nothing else much going on. You didn't have screens to look at. There wasn't that many other bands. So when you did an event, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been a circus. It could have been anything. People would turn up. Yeah. And if you track that back historically to Middle Ages times, then someone coming out with a pair of pliers to pull out your teeth. Yeah. That would be the event.
The show, yeah.
And these days we're competing with everything.
Yeah, because I think if you look back, even just one generation ago, you had 4 channels on TV. And radio.
Yes.
And if you wanted to actually go and see or learn about bands, it was either magazine. When I was a kid, it was Kerrang! Magazine, Metal Hammer, those sorts of magazines. But if you actually wanted to go and see gigs, you'd have to literally get off your ass and go see them.
But let's just stop for a minute, because there's no point moaning about it. I mean, lots of musicians my generation are like, oh, the good old days and all that. And, they forget that the music back then was an exclusive club for a few of us. And, you're either in it or out of it, and nearly everybody was out of it. And it was gatekeepered up by Radio 1 and the major labels and stuff. So now we're all in it, and we can't complain if we're all in the club, but it's a bit full.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a good thing about it.
And here's a thing that, because one thing I constantly hear is people harping on about the good old days. And did you know that especially in America, but between 1969 and 1991, festivals were practically extinct. There was practically no such thing as a music festival, because of the health and safety of Altamont festivals in 1969, where effectively some bad stuff happened, and all of a sudden the government just said, well, hang on a minute, we can't police this. And then in order to get your festival across the line, it was so much hard work that people just went, oh, can't.
Well, let me give you another example. In early 90s, Motorhead, who are legendary, obviously now, could barely play a pub. Because they'd gone a bit out of fashion. And there was my era when I was 18, it was all about pay to play. If you wanted to play in London, you had to pay and buy your tickets in advance, So it wasn't all golden, but however, things have got a little bit trickier. The economics of running a music venue are very hard. Councils don't make it easy. There's always that pressure to turn the thing into flats, because people can make,
noise pollution is a big thing.
Noise pollution, and that people can move into an area where a venue's been going for 20 years and complain about the noise. And we've had a Brighton, with several Brighton venues have been shut down because of that. And generally, councils don't support clubs, they don't support music venues, and they don't see it as a cultural necessity like we all do. However, again, that comes into the category of, well, we got to deal with it. It's the real world. Yeah. And the other side of the coin is, I go and see a lot of gigs, but I don't see many gigs where people are really blowing us away. We just done a video about how to do that.
Yeah. And when you get it, you know it.
So what was the last band that you saw that blew your head off?
I think there's bands that blow me away that I'm surprised they don't get people in, but when I scratch the surface, I realise why. It's because they're putting the work. I mean, there's this thing about people say it's all about the music, and I think it should be all about the music. That is not the same as it is all about the music. So if you leave it to say it's all about the music, then you have to be doing something monumental in order for people just to pick up on it and come to a gig.
Yeah, for example, Kurt Cobain looks like it. Kurt Cobain made some of the most important music of our, in our history. But his look was carefully studied. It wasn't just thrown together. It might have the appearance of that, but the whole thing was cohesive. And he signed to a major label and played the game to the point.
And you're talking a movement rather than just the music.
Yeah, a cultural movement. Absolutely. I'm not saying it was a good thing, because it didn't work out, well in the long run. In the long run, it wasn't a healthy situation. But nevertheless, if you're going to be a professional musician, you have to look at all the aspects of that. And if you take your music seriously, if Jimi Hendrix can look cool, then everyone else can. So I think, just going back to the venues for a minute. We're starting to see more and more O2 venues, and they've got a different model. And I was the first one to complain when I discovered that they take 25% off your merch stand. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the O2 venues are still there, and I'm thankful for it. So venues have to be profitable, and we have got a responsibility to bring in audience who also spend a bit of money at the bar. And so many musicians absolve themselves of that responsibility and think it's the agent and the promoter's job. Yeah. Sorry, it isn't. It's our job to fill that room full of people. And if the room's empty, the responsibility falls back to those people on the stage, and you're going to struggle to get other gigs. So I suppose it starts with the responsibility. We're going to fill the room, and then to do that, it comes back to adding value. So I don't know, a band that I saw that had every box ticked, and it was Ghost. Right. It went on to be a big band, and I saw him in a tent in some festival, and I'd heard a little bit of a buzz about him. And the first thing, there's an epic thing, and they all come on with the monk costumes, and he comes on with his his death monk, death pope costume with the white thing, swinging an incense ball, and I'm like, oh my god, this is entertaining. Right. This is rock and roll. It's entertainment, and that it's that extra, going the extra mile. I'm not saying everyone has to be theatrical. Yeah. But we're in the entertainment business.
And so what you're saying, and where I think musicians fall down, because it's very easy to say people don't come to gigs, or there's too many gigs, or the noise and stuff, but should it not be instead, what's the right question? We're asking the wrong question, and the question should be, what do you need to do to get people to come to your gigs?
Yeah, in this day and age.
Because there is a very good chance that these venues will carry on closing down. If you look at the venues that have gone, from Astoria through to the Roadhouse in Manchester, all of those venues that I grew up playing, you grew up playing, the Cockpit in Leeds, all gone.
The Marquee, gone.
Total shame, but at the same point, we can cry about it, but even if the venues go, because of insurance and because of the financial implications, there's got to be places to play, because just like grassroots football or grassroots sport,
there always,
you're going to be on the street. There's going to be ways of doing it.
Yeah, and if you can't find a venue, like the Loudshirts Brewery, you partner up with an unusual venue and you make it happen. And the great thing is, you might get 100 people through the door instead of 1,000, but you beam it out. You do an Insta Live, or you do whatever you do, and you reach a lot of people. So it's just adapting, but also accepting responsibility for the fact we're in the entertainment business. Yeah, and we're entertainers.
So here's the thing that I think. I don't think it is the end of the local music scene. However, I think the evolution means people are trying to actually, they're trying to get into the live music scene too early now.
I agree.
And I think what needs to happen is people need to realise that you're not entitled to actually get into a venue and fill it up until you've put a lot of work in before that with your socials, which weren't there 20 years ago. And there comes the time. What are you going to do to build that momentum and vibe?
I've got one point to make on this. I think you need that one great song and one video to kick the ball off. And if you haven't got a proper video, there's not a lot anyone can do for you. So I think that's your starting point. Consolidate where you are now into one great song that shows the world where you've come from and where you're going, and make a great video. It doesn't have to be expensive, and that's your starting point. Build a bit of an audience, get your mates together, then there's your first gig, and build it from there.
And if there's bands watching saying, but every time I'm playing to the same 5 people, what's the plan for them? Wait a bit longer?
You've got to look in the mirror, haven't you, and go, well, some bands are making it work. When you get that one amazing, I'd go back to your songwriting. The artist's responsibility is not to sound good. That's craft. It's the arts bit. You've got to stand for an audience. You've got to speak for an audience. And when you do that, the audience comes. Right.
Interesting. So not the death of the live.
I don't think so.
Do you think that will ever happen? Do you think we're 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or do you think rock and roll will always find a way?
I think rock and roll will always find a way, but it'll move into different places. The spirit of rock and roll for me, I mean, I went to the Music Week Awards a couple of years ago. It was very depressing. There was awards for like old back catalogue being reissued, and to me, nothing to do with rock and roll. Where I see the spirit of innovation, adventure, and carving your own future, designing your own life, which is what it means to me, is actually on YouTube.
Right.
It's people like WaterBear and people like, Rob Chapman, who's the grandfather of it.
Yeah.
It's all our friends on YouTube, and they also have a punk ethic where they share their knowledge, which has been really refreshing. And the thing that frustrates me is they've developed, the music industry's kind of moved over there, and there's a real slow acceptance of that. For example, I don't know, Leah from Frog Leap should be on download.
Yeah.
Well, it makes complete sense, but I think rock and roll is over there. Wherever there's freedom of expression, creativity, innovation, risk-taking, that's where it is, and that's rock and roll.
Agreed. Brilliant.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Join in with the debate. Please get involved. Let us know your comments. I'm sure you've got lots to tell us about. And if you're interested in coming studying with us at WaterBear and having this type of discussion and this type of debates, this is what we do all the time. You can study a degree or a master's online, on site. It's super flexible, fits around your band, fits around your music career. Give us a call.